in your beer and grab him a coke. We about to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brandon T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I'm your host, Brennan Tassif. If you are new to the show, quick rundown. I am sober now, but I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. You know, get drunk, share stories, reminisce about the old days, be it drugs or drinking or getting in trouble or relationships. And even though I am now sober, that's still one of my favorite things to do is hang out with people and just kind of reminisce about the old days. Normally I will have a guest. Every once in a while I will do a solo show, but I will normally have a guest. And today is no exception. I am joined by a very funny sweet boy who runs one of the shows here in Jacksonville and also is a comedian, podcaster formerly, and going to be again, Mr. CJ Couch. What's up, man?
Thank you, Brennan. Hello, audience. Yes, my name is CJ Couch. You can follow me on Instagram at CJ Couch Talk. I did have a podcast once upon a time for a couple years. It did good. It's called Couch Talk.
There you go.
I'm going to bring it back. I fell into a depression hole, a little attempted suicide, a little disappearance.
As things happen.
You know, just like classic
us.
Classic
we'll get
story.
into it.
Yeah. But thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like you said, it's CJ Couch Talk on social media. You do started and continue to run the CBD Cafe, Mike, on Thursday night now at 8:00 here in Jacksonville, Florida. Yes, a lot of fun. We the audience, people who have been keeping up with the show from the beginning are very aware of it because we used to talk mad shit about it.
It doesn't surprise me at all, and I don't blame you at all. And
we're like, who the fuck is this guy? What is this? Like, what is happening?
It's warranted. You know, I started it.
Get into it because
experience.
Yeah, because you weren't even doing stand up at the time, right?
Zero stand up.
Okay.
No, my first time was actually at CBD on a Saturday before what was supposed to be my open mic first night, which did happen, but it was without me.
Yeah.
I was in the throes of really fentanyl addiction. People say heroin, but I mean, it's 2021.
Yeah.
Now it's 2021 now, and for the past few years, I mean, people just unfortunately are doing fentanyl. That's why so many people are dying.
Yeah, that's episode I think 6 of this podcast. One of my very close friends died from a fentanyl overdose, so we got into that. But yeah, so you missed your first show.
Yeah, so I get it. You know, it's really easy to talk shit about it. It's in a place that there's not a traditional stage, if you will.
Yeah,
the setup was
or
terrible.
Stage at all.
Right. You know, just a place to stand in front of a drum set. And I went in there. I had been wanting to do comedy forever. We listened to all the same podcasts.
Yeah.
I'd been doing podcasts. I'd actually had Tyrone Thornhill on.
Yeah.
And God bless him, he's awesome. I'm not in any way degrading, but I was like, wow, like he's a comic and I had so much fun. I feel like I kept up with him comedically, like just riffing with each other.
Yeah.
And I've always felt funny in my way. So I was like, all right, I really want to do this. I'm driving down Old St. Augustine and I see an open mic being advertised and I didn't even know what the CBD Cafe was. I pull in, go in there, I see Sienna and I'm like, hey, I obviously don't assume that she owns the place.
Yeah, she's very
she's a 20-year-old attractive girl in like shorts and a tank top.
Yeah, you're like, what's up?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, what's up, dude? So I walk in.
Same thing when I walked
what's up, dude?
What up, dude?
What's up, dude? So, which worked. No, but I walked in.
It did work for you.
No, but I walked in and I was wearing my paint clothes. You know, I just got off work. And I was like, hey, I see you have a mic on Saturdays. I'm a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I went with it right off the bat.
And I knew Dean and Zach from high school, so I knew that I could get them out. And then I knew that they would help spread the word. So I was just like, I could bring a bunch of comics out here. I'd love to start a mic. And she's like, yeah, sure. You know?
Just like that. And boom, the mic was born.
So that was probably on Thursday. And Saturday, I go do my first set. I bombed so hard.
Yeah.
And then
I don't mean to cut you off, but that's always weird because I've had a lot of different people on here, but comedians, actors, musicians, things like that. Well, I always like to start off the conversation with talking about how they got into whatever they're into. And it's so up and down. There are people who are like, man, murdered. First set, murdered. And then there's other people like you're saying, like, first set, bombed. Which is so weird to me because a lot of times it's stuff you've been thinking about. And you're like, oh, I think this is funny. You've been thinking about it for years maybe. And then you finally go out and do it. And a lot of times, like, you know, we see
I've been
it.
thinking for years, yeah.
Yeah. But we see it as like, you know, like I've been doing comedy on and off for a long time. Marcus has been doing it consistently now for 13 years. Brian Ziola's been doing it for over a decade. Chris Buck. So we see it all the time where people come in and sometimes they crush and you're like, all right, like we'll see you next week. And then they come in and do the same set the next week. And you're like, okay, now you gotta start. You've been writing that 5 minutes for 10 years. Like now you got to keep going.
That's brutal.
Yeah. So it's interesting to hear though that you went up and you just ate it.
Well, I think having a podcast in a way was it was a disadvantage in the way that I approached it because I had done solo episodes.
Yeah.
And I felt so confident in my ability
to
be funny on the spot with no notes, and I'm just gonna destroy is what I truly believed.
Yeah. So
and
you just went up there.
My roommate
canvas?
that I live with now, Nelson and Gabby, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
They've been there at a few shows. They fucking came with me. Nelson was like, I'm going to do a joke. I punched his joke up for him, and he destroyed with it. Swear to God, dude. Seriously.
Classic.
So it was like...
And then you went up just thinking you were going to riff.
Yeah.
And...
Well, it was a traditional open mic in the sense that there was people doing music, poetry, and all that.
Okay.
So it was music... And then this kid, Dale, came up, who, rest in peace. He's like a legend at CBD. He ended up passing away from an overdose. But he went up there, and he was so talented and amazing, but it's singing, you know, sad, depressing songs.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd known him before that, and he'd been I used to do a thing called Drug Dealer Stories on Couch Talk on my solo episodes, and... For any couchies listening, he's the dude that like shot his gun off and was robbing people and doing all this stuff. So he made a huge change in his life.
Yeah.
But unfortunately stuck with the drugs. So he became a way better person and then stuck with the drugs, was performing at CBD, doing great. But when he performed, it's sad songs. So people are like, what the hell? You know?
Yeah.
Some people will not leave but go outside to smoke a cigarette when he's done. So it's a full room and then about a half room now. Nelson goes up there, does great with his one joke. It's maybe 45 seconds. And then brings me up.
Man.
Yeah. So I go up there.
Sad song, one joke, then you.
And I'm like, I'm going to crush. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard, but I tried to do a bit before about, like, when I first got an iPhone 3GS, I was 16. They just came out. And within 45 minutes of owning it, I was already busted my first nut to porn.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's all I do with this thing.
It's just watch porn on.
Yeah, that's it. I don't use my MacBook for it. It's just my phone. And I tried to do this dumb concept of like, when are we just going to start physically fucking our phones? It's stupid. It's dumb. It is not good.
You got to swing, man. You got to take swings to make some connections, you know?
But I had talked about it on my podcast this one time. When are we going to start fucking our phones? But it's like one of these things where on a podcast, when you can talk about it, something like that for so long.
Yeah.
And just bullshit.
When you go back and forth. Yeah, because I've got stories that I've told on the podcast, and I've had people be like, hey, man, you should tell that story on stage. I'm like, it was an hour and 30-minute podcast. Like, it took up 20 minutes. Like, what stage are you talking about?
Exactly, dude. So, like, I try to just, basically, I said it just like how I said it on here. It wasn't funny. Like, I knew I didn't have that much time. I had no frame of reference for how long 5 minutes was. You know?
Nobody ever does when they first get up.
No idea. No inner clock. So I just went, and then I could feel the bomb. Like I said it. I was like, you're not, like, where's the
You pause for laughter?
Yeah. A few people chuckled and I just like looked around and I went on to my next little thing. I don't even remember what it was. It was terrible. And I ate shit, dude. It was so bad.
Damn.
But it wasn't, it was my first bomb, but it wasn't my first bomb feeling. Like, I was perplexed by it.
Yeah.
I wasn't that terrible feeling you get with a bomb.
Yeah.
Which I then ended up feeling very shortly after.
Yeah, well, and I think the biggest difference is if you go up there and you think, like, I got a couple things I want to talk about, but I'm just going to kind of riff, and then you bomb, it's like, okay, like, I get that. Like, it makes sense in your head. The worst, I can only speak for myself, but the worst bombs for me are when I think of something and because you see, I get the whiteboard in here and everything, and then I start writing it down, and I'm like, I got it. Like this is my
Right.
Dane Cook heist story. Like this is my, Tom Segura completely normal bit. Like this is it. Like I got it.
Yeah, you figured it out.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of these tags. I'm bouncing it off Savannah. Like she's throwing in tag. I'm like, we are cooking,
It
baby.
never stops.
And
the
then,
creative process just never stops with that.
But then you go up and you try it for the first time, and then it bombs, crickets. That's when I'm like, well, I'm not going to stop doing comedy, so I guess I just have to like kill myself. Like I don't know what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
I'd rather kill myself than quit comedy.
Yeah, but it's like obviously I'm not very good at comedy.
Yeah, dude.
But it's like that feeling, and I don't mean to make light of suicide. Obviously, I have to say that, but we've both attempted it.
Yeah,
and
dude.
failed miserably at it, just
Yeah.
like we do with everything else in our lives.
That's how it
So,
goes.
but yeah, like that feeling is that kind of bomb is way worse than like going up and be like, I'm just gonna riff, and then
Yes.
But like you said, you felt that shortly after.
Me and you have a very similar thing, I feel, with the crowd, in that things that we, in our head, when we're creating this shit, are so absurd. How could you take this serious?
Yeah,
We say it, and people think we're serious.
yeah. Well, because I mean, some of your material, especially your newer stuff that I've heard, is super dark, but I think it's hilarious.
Oh, man. I'm
'Cause
right there
it's-
with you. I think I'm a genius.
Yeah, but like some of that
I
stuff,
suck, dude.
like the statute of limitations on promises,
That hit good.
That like we talked about before, like you had a lot of this because you, like me, have a very dark and twisted sense of humor.
Mhm.
And so, and some of your stuff, and you'll be the first to admit, just like some of my stuff it's a little like catchier, like it's a little like, hey, I want to do something everyone can laugh at, because
Yeah, dude.
you
yeah.
get tired of fucking doing dark material and it bombing all the time to
Yeah.
well-adjusted crowds.
Yeah, people looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, so you do a little bit lighter stuff, but then I remember a couple weeks ago when you brought out some of the darker material, I told you I remember I walked up to you right after and I was like, hey man, you got to shorten it, but that stuff's awesome. And then literally, what was it, the next week or 2 weeks later,
it was the next
you did
week.
the same material, but you had shortened it, made it tighter, added tags, and I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the room, but I was fucking dying. Like, it was so funny.
So that was my second time ever doing comedy. I did that bit.
Okay.
So I missed that first mic that was supposed to be the start.
Yeah.
Apparently it was a great turnout. Everyone had fun. And then there's the next mic on that following Saturday, because she used to do an open mic every Saturday.
Yeah.
So I do the first Saturday, eat shit, and then I'd been listening to Kill Tony forever and just comedy podcasts in general.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it needs to be who you are. And me and my dad were in a terrible place at that time. We're doing great now. But it was just this thing of like, that it wasn't the first thing I thought of, but I knew that if I told a story that would like draw people in like that, I could fill out 5 minutes
Yeah.
by telling the story and then having one punchline at the end, basically.
Yeah.
And now I've made it way more. But like, that was my first feeling ever of feeling great on stage when I told that, because I watched people lean in, and then I said the statutes of limitations on dead mom promises thing, and it just like crushed.
Yeah.
And dude, those rooms, especially on Saturdays. Saturday, we turned comedy night into their prominent night, but it used to be the open mic.
Okay.
It'd be so packed that there was not room inside. So people would be outside. I'm talking 50, 55, 60 people in that little place, dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking slammed. And it crushed. It felt so good, dude.
Yeah. And that's the big thing too. And for everyone listening, they're kind of like, well, we just keep saying dark joke, and then you threw in the tag. It's a story you tell about what happened the last time you hung out with your mother before she passed away.
So my mom had cancer. Let me take a sip of this water. My mom initially had cancer when I was a little kid. Then she got it back, and we had hospice at the house for like over a month, maybe close to 2 months, which is absurd. That's so long, dude.
Yeah, because hospice is normally 3 days to a week.
Yeah, tops. And my mom just kept holding on, and she deteriorated. We were at the house, so she's deteriorating, and it's just, she's now like essentially in a coma, and she'd been that way, and the hospice nurse was like, hey, you just need to tell your mom, for her own sake, because she's holding on for you,
Yeah.
you need to tell her that she can let go and that you're okay and all that stuff. So I just talk about that and how I went in there and what happened. And that's true, dude. Like, it was my dad, like, he did it first because I was out at Panera Bread with my girlfriend. So, like, it used to be this thing where my mom she started like, losing her mind from the cancer, the drugs and everything of medicating her,
Yeah.
that she didn't trust the hospice nurse to give her medicine. And I was already working for my dad every day. So I had to stop working. And while he was gone,
While he's working, you're taking care of
I'm
mom.
taking care of my
Yeah,
mom with
and
the
then-
hospice nurse, giving her medicine and stuff.
Mhm.
And obviously, as a drug addict, taking that medicine,
Yeah.
and
Oh, just real quick for the listeners. We were not kidding earlier. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and CJ is a recovering.
yeah, I mean, I just
addict.
relapsed like recently. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I'm good right
I don't.
now.
Yeah, I don't want to. I didn't want anybody to lose sight of that. I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but the drug thing makes a lot more sense when you say that.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, like I'm a genuine, and that's like when I was 20 at that time. I just turned 20. My mom passed September 16th. I turned 20 August 13th.
Yeah.
So like I just turned 20, but I was already doing pills and specifically at that time Xanax bars was my thing.
Okay.
Just blackout, forget anything happened.
Yeah.
But I'm with my mom every day, so like I'd wake up at 7 and give her medicine, watch TV with her. We were watching $1 Million Listing, Bravo shows, but we're watching the same episodes over.
I remember.
over.
Yeah, you did talk about that.
So it just
And you were like, I bet they get this house for this much.
yeah,
She's like,
yeah,
how
yeah.
did you know
Acting
that?
like I'm a prophet,
Yeah.
I forgot about that the last time I've told the story. I need to bring that back. But basically, just hanging out with my mom, and it sucked, but I was getting to be with her, you know, and I was just holding her hand, laying with her all the time. And then my dad would come home, so then my girlfriend, who would either already be over, she would come over. We would go and like get food, and that's when I would like smoke weed. You know,
that
go
was your
smoke a
little
blunt.
break. Yeah.
A break from that reality. So I come back, and I didn't know this was going to happen. I come back, I just smoked a blunt, and my dad's crying. He's sitting in the living room, and he's just head in his hands, and the hospice nurse has got her hands on his back, and, he's like, it sucks. She tells me, you got to say about your mom. He's like, it sucks because she cannot respond. Like, she's not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
And, like, on everything, dude. She, like, squeezed my hand. She told me all that shit.
Yeah. That you
And
talk
it was,
about in the
like,
joke.
fucking heavy, dude. And it was the best, worst moment of my life.
Yeah.
Because it truly, like, I was like, this is a real connection
Mm-hmm.
that, like, transcends what I thought was possible
That's awesome.
in
that you had that.
consciousness. Yeah.
I mean, it sucks how you got there.
and
but
then
it's
she died
awesome
in my
that you
arms
had it.
the next day.
Yeah.
Like, so they were right.
I wonder what the statue.
Yeah.
That joke.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I'll tell it. I don't care.
No. Don't burn it. Don't burn
Yeah.
it. I think it's by far like head and
It's by far
shoulders
my
above.
best shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like there's so many people we see, and I talk about this all the time on the show because I'm the most pretentious asshole when it comes to writing comedy because I'm always like, no, I want to talk about real stuff, like stuff I've been through. Like I'm doing this whole bit I'm trying to work out about being bullied, and it's like because the way I look now, it's like, no, you weren't like
Yeah, you look like the bully.
I joke all the time. Like I look like white privilege personified. Like if you could paint a picture of what that would look like, it would be me.
Yeah.
So, and I totally understand that, but it's so difficult, not difficult, but it's a challenge, which I love, but it's a challenge to try and like relay to the audience. Like, no, like it wasn't always like I used to get the shit kicked out of me in high school.
Dude.
Like I've got these scars, and I talk about it all the time. Like I've got these scars all over my body, these self-induced masochist scars because I used to hate myself. Like I used to, like I still have bad anxiety, but it used to be so bad that I would have to hurt myself to distract my brain from feeling like I was going to throw up because I was so nervous about everything. And so trying to relay that to the audience in a short amount of time is very difficult. But I like to try and work on material that does that because then it's almost like, hey, we're all like making light of the situation because it's a bad situation. But all you can really do at the end of the day is laugh at it because it happened.
Yeah.
There's no changing.
Yeah. And I'm saying it.
Which
it
is
happened to me. Yeah.
Which is why I love the whole thing about you talking about your mom's death and everything because it's like, yeah, it really sucked. But I'm not going to sit in the fucking corner and cry about it. Like, we're going to make a joke about it because that's how I deal. That's how you deal. And I would much rather relay that to an audience. And if it bombs, fuck it, it bombs. If I'm talking to a bunch of well-adjusted people who don't understand, or I say something about hurting myself, or I say something about, being bullied, and they clam up because they're like, oh, you can't talk about that. Well, then that's just not my audience. I say it at least every other episode. I don't need all of you. I just need enough of you to fill a room.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so nice because you're brand new into comedy, you know, in comparison to some of.
I just had my 1 year, and it was all COVID year.
Yeah.
But thank God for the cafe.
Yeah, and the cafe stayed open, and we've been doing the mass shows and wiping everything down and just making sure that everything is super safe. And we've had some bigger shows there, and then some smaller shows. But it was funny because the last thing I want to say about that, and then we'll get on to some of the stories, is that it's just. You've only been doing it a year, but I really do appreciate the fact that when you go up there, you're very much like, this is what we're doing. Like, if it bombs, it bombs. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But, like, this is what I'm going to talk about. Because there's a lot of people, and you've noticed, I mean, I've had a bunch of people that I've seen that started comedy during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very much like, you know, doing their fun stuff, which is great. But I think you and I are such kindred spirits with, you know, my drug problems and alcoholism and then your drug issues and stuff. And we've had kind of a similar path, even though you're a few years younger than me, where we find humor in the same areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why you and I connect a lot of the stuff, because I swear to God, man, some of the stuff you do, I'm looking around the room like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But I love it.
I'm glad.
But it's very much, and I feel the same way, you know, about some of my material. It's very much like,
see, I'm with you. I wonder all the time, what the fuck am I doing? Because like, I'm with you. I only want to talk about things that are like what I've lived.
Yeah.
You know? And I've had this like premise for so long. So when I say I was a pimp, I don't mean I was a pimp in the sense of like I'm controlling these women and they're giving me all their money. But like in my last like hard run, when I said I missed the show, like at that time in 2020, around this time, last year, I was with this, I found this girl I went to school with, and basically, like, you know people that do shit, right?
Yeah.
So you would just, whatever. And I went and got crack with them.
mm-hmm.
And I don't know her sister. And her sister comes, and I have the car, so I'm driving, and her sister is a prostitute.
Okay.
Right? So instantly her sister, I can tell, like, has a crush on me and stuff. And she just did a date, so she had all this money, and it was like, hey, if you drive, I'll buy you this, blah, 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 you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we're having all this fun, we're cracking up, you know, like, we're having so much fun, and we're hanging out, then I get kicked out of my place, right?
Okay.
So now I'm homeless, and I know she has a crush on me, so I manipulate it into, like, let's kind of, you know, like
hang out. Yeah,
like I'll take this place to stay. So I'm staying with her sister, and then this dude who owns the place, who's 60 years old, 65 years old. He's got gout. Like, he's a regular dude. He barely smokes crack, but he does.
Yeah.
But he's a regular guy who's in love with her sister, the girl that I knew.
Yeah.
And now this girl isn't necessarily my bitch, but like, she's doing dates constantly, and we're splitting all the money.
Okay. And this is, you guys are staying at this guy's house?
Yeah,
at
in
the time?
Mandarin.
Okay.
Yeah, off Hartley.
Damn.
Yeah, right? So, you know, it just...
What was that like for you when you were home? Like, technically, like,
I had a car, so...
Yeah, so
blessing.
you're not technically homeless. You
right.
got a car.
So I was car home. It was nice.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, because
dog.
I went through the same
I lived
thing.
in a motel.
Yeah, that's what you were telling me about. Because I went through the same thing. Not nearly as drastic, but I left home at 17, and then got my own place. Then eventually went to college. But in college, they had this thing called break housing, where like say it's in between the fall and spring semester, and like so once the fall semester ends, you technically no longer have housing.
Right, like when no one's at school.
Yeah, and then you don't get housing again until the spring semester starts. So they had this thing where you could pay like an absurd amount of money for break housing so you could move into your dorm early. I never had the money to do that because it didn't line up with the student loan scheduling. You know what I mean? Because I would take out a bunch of money for loans and then I would blow it before the end of the semester.
Hell yeah.
So every semester, I would either crash on a couch or I'd stay in my car because I was not going home. Like, you're out of your fucking mind. So it was just really weird because when you had sent me that text and you're like, oh, the time I was homeless. And I was just like, oh, I guess it happens to all of us.
Yeah, it's been a lot. Like,
to different degrees, but.
I lived across the street from the cafe at Old St. Augustine, the Lakes. and was evicted from there, so I was homeless then.
Yeah.
Like I've been homeless, doing heroin for 8 years. So
Okay.
like it's had its homeless stints. I've lived in motels but I would still work so I could afford the motel.
Yeah.
And then like
You just didn't have enough for like a down first, last, and security.
I didn't have the credit for it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. So I would always, with this charisma, I could I could have some old black lady that worked at the motel that I would pay.
Yeah.
I'd tell her like, hey, what's going on I'd just be honest and tell her what's going on. And instead of paying $400 for a week, I'd pay $250 in cash for the week. And I was still making, $600 a week or something.
Yeah.
Which is nothing. But I was still affording, So I was living in this motel and just finagling things. And then like crack whores have always been something that like they're friends. Like I've never was sexual with these girls because I don't see how you could be when you're with them literally right after they did a date, or like you all live in a motel together, you're neighbors, and you're getting high together, and then it's like, hey, I need to go have a date. And prostitutes are not attractive. Like the ones that live in motels and are essentially crack whores and whatever are not attractive. And even when I was a drug addict, I could just get regular puss. But they were my favorite people to hang out with. Yeah. Because you can not saying that is me being myself, but in those moments when you're smoking crack and doing heroin, like who the fuck do you do that with?
Well, that's the thing is like when I would drink real hard, like because I used to always drink alone towards the end, but when I would drink real hard, like I wanted other alcoholics with, like I don't want to hang out with a regular person. Like no, I want someone who's gonna hang out shot for shot. We're gonna like fucking cry about the same shit. We're gonna talk about the same shit. We're gonna get mad about the same shit.
We're gonna get as equally as fucked up.
Yeah.
And also, it's like comics. Like I want to hang out with comics.
Yeah.
Like once you're hanging out with comics, it's like I want to hang out with comics.
Yeah. There's something, and I'm sure you've heard this in NA rooms too. But there's something that people say all the time, like, oh, I never felt at home till I started going to meetings, and I always hear that, and I'm always kind of like, yeah, I mean, I do feel kind of at home there, but I've never felt more at home than sitting in the back of a room with a bunch of comics.
Yeah, I like AA more than NA.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, me too.
Just for the structure of it and everything. Like, if you're gonna take it serious and do it that way, that's to me the way to do it. I mean, not to shit on NA, but like any experience I ever had with it, it was like really not relapse friendly, but it wasn't so frowned upon. And I don't think like relapsing should be frowned upon necessarily. Like it should be.
Yeah.
But I mean, like it's taken way more serious than AA.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah. Well, and that's also, I don't want to get too far off the rails, but it's also a double-edged sword when it comes to my experience in recovery, is that there's sometimes where you will build up some time and then you go out, and because it is taken so seriously in certain rooms, you don't want to go back because you feel like you've wasted all that time. And so that's actually, it's a positive because it's more of a deterrent to relapse, but it's also a negative because once you relapse, you're like, fuck that, I'm not going back to face those people.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I did want to ask you about your experience with rehab. You did send me that. You were 19 years old?
Yeah, dude.
Was this the only time you've been to rehab? The first time you went to rehab? Like, what's the deal?
I've been to a couple detoxes.
Yeah.
But rehab. So the first time I went, I used to sell like a lot of MDMA, like a lot of Molly. Okay. I knew somebody that was like really.
Was this in high school, after high school?
Right out of high school. I was in college and then I dropped out. So I was like working with my dad and then going to like raves. And I was just middlemaning it.
Okay.
And then this other kid, basically I just fell into this opportunity to like become partners and like sell a lot, like traveling, doing it. Like you don't have a job anymore. Like this is your job.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was addicted to Molly, but it wasn't in the traditional sense of like you're going to have to detox and all this stuff. And then like, remember the craze of bath salts?
Oh yeah. I remember that. The one dude ate that other dude's face.
But what it really was the reason it became a craze in the public zeitgeist was somebody who makes it, the Heisenberg of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Genius out of UNF, chemistry degree. Let's say that this person goes to jail. Now it's like, okay, where do we get this product that we have such a demand for?
Yeah.
You can get it from Asia. So instead of it being MDMA, it's not illegal yet. It's MDMCA or whatever fucking chemical combination that's close.
Yeah.
And when someone gets caught with it, it gets classified as a bath salt. So at the same time,
Oh, so it's not really a bath.
It's not necessarily a bath salt at all. It's just
Okay.
an uncategorized drug that has not yet been chemically
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So the rise of this is the rise of bath salts.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff coming in from Asia that's not real Molly.
Yeah.
And that's why now
So it's not a real drug, but it's also not something that's super
it's a real
healthy.
drug, but it's not a chemically classified. Like,
Yeah, okay.
It hasn't
You
been.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it makes you feel the same. But when I go to rehab, so basically, I'm just rolling nonstop, and I'm going to all these raves, and I'm making a bunch of money, and everything's fine. But like,
So how old were you at this time?
I was 18, and then I turned 19, maybe my first week of rehab.
Okay, so you're going to raves, you're partying, you're selling the bath salts.
Yeah, dude. So okay.
Yeah, dude.
I just get to this point where I'm like really burnt out, and I'm at a party one night off of South Side. Like after it's like 4 a.m, we'd already gone to a rave, and it's actually next to Justice Pub where Myth is.
Okay.
It used to be TSI, Crunchy Sundays, so we'd always go there, and it was a really fun time. So I'm talking to this kid, and I'm like, I know this is weird. I think I want to go to rehab, just like reset. And he goes, yeah, that'd be like a really good idea. And I tell everyone else, and they tell me I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck? My friend Logan, I've been friends with him since middle school. We're really close. I respect his opinion.
Shouts out Logan.
Shouts out Logan. We have a really deep conversation that night, rolling face and unable to fall asleep. And we come to the conclusion that I do need to go to rehab, not in like a dependency thing, but like, get the fuck out of here. This is your life. Like, you're going to sell this forever.
Yeah.
Like, you have an opportunity to work for your family.
Figure things out, hit the reset button, kind of detox in a safe environment.
And I know nothing. I don't have health insurance. I know nothing about, maybe I did, but either way I paid in cash. And it was like, I don't know about rehabs. I call my parents. They know none of this. They know something's up,
Yeah.
but they don't think I'm selling drugs and need to go to rehab
That
at
must
all.
have been an interesting
Like, at all.
conversation.
So I call.
Mom is still alive at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Okay.
But she has cancer.
Yeah.
She just got it back.
Okay.
So I just tell them, hey, I need to go to rehab. I know it sounds crazy. And they were great, awesome parents. And they were like, okay. They found the rehab to go to. And it's funny because I paid cash and not insurance. I was like, it's very money driven. So
I'm very aware.
so they got my money and it was done. I wasn't drug tested because drug tests cost money that they charge the insurance.
Yeah.
I was an IOP,
Okay. Intense outpatient.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, when you go to a rehab facility, the one I went to, there was apartments that everyone lived at. It was on property. And then you would take a bus to their center where you would do classes all day and do all that shit, all the rehab stuff. When you're IOP, in my case, because I paid cash but paid to live there because I wasn't from there, which no one is, but I lived there, but I was IOP. So the point of IOP is you're looking for a job. You're kind of going to be transitioning into a real life, a halfway house. It was just I didn't pay enough money to get the full treatment, and I didn't have insurance to get the full treatment.
Okay, yeah.
So they half-assed it.
When I did the first time I went to rehab, I was still under my dad's health insurance, and so I had and it was good health insurance. So I was lucky and fortunate in that way, where I had like the inpatient. So it was the whole deal, getting tested. They give you a list of meds that you're going to take. You get tested all the time. Yeah, you go through all that rigmarole, and then there's the whole the insurance company contacts them after like a certain amount of time, like, hey, is he cleared to leave? Is he not cleared to leave? All that kind of stuff. But because you paid cash, it's just this is where you live. This is where you go to the outpatients.
2 classes a day, one at 11 one at 11 and another one at 3. Or actually one at 11, another one at 6:30, and then you're supposed to be looking for a job and all that shit. But like, when I took my initial UA, I'm taking shit from China. So I didn't detox. I didn't have to anyways, because you don't detox from that. But like, I never went through all that. Like, I never got meds.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. I just went from like there being a drug addict or selling all that shit to now I'm just in rehab.
Okay.
And I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment where you share a room with people, like one person.
Yeah.
And there's 4 people in a place. You get $75 a week per person, and you can go to Publix, you get a gift card, and then the rest of your time you're getting meals for breakfast, whatever.
Yeah.
But not me, IOP, you know?
Yeah.
I was just going out on pass all the time, and there was all these kids. No one was really taking it that. I mean, people were taking it serious. Don't get me wrong, but like we were smoking spice.
There's always, and I've realized that too. Is that
I was never going to be sober. That was never my plan.
Yeah, your plan was to go get a reset. It wasn't to be sober. And I noticed that too. Is when I went to rehab, there were people there who were there for exactly what you're describing. Like, I just need a reset. And then there were people there who were like, no, this has ruined my life. Like, I need to stop doing this. And then there's people all in between.
Yeah, there's people who are their family caught them doing coke.
Yeah, and
they're
now
just
you
there
have to go to
yeah.
And it's weird because coming up on my 3rd year sober and being in and out of the program for the last decade.
Congrats, dude. 3 years is awesome.
I appreciate it, but it's weird because like I'll be in rooms now, and I'll hear I shouldn't say in rooms because we don't talk about what happens in the rooms.
Right.
It's anonymous, but I will hear people say in dealings like, "Oh, I got to do this for my parents, or I got to do this for my girl, or I got to do," and I'm like I understand because I've been there. Like there's nothing I wanted more.
You do want it
in the whole world than was to get sober when I was with Alyssa, because that's my ex-fiance. That's what she wanted.
Yeah,
and I just wanted to be with her. There's nothing I wanted more than to be sober. Because when I was sober, our relationship was great, and I just couldn't do it. Like, there's obviously something I wanted more, which was the alcohol, which was for that anxiety to go away, which was for that constant nervousness and dread of being alive to go away. And the only way I could do that was to either do drugs or drink. So when I hear people, when you talk about this, the IOP and the reset, that's something I'm so familiar with, because it's like, oh yeah, like I'd never planned on.
Yeah,
I was just there because I wanted to kind of cleanse myself.
Yeah, I was always gonna smoke weed.
Yeah,
like I was never not gonna do that.
And it's so bizarre too, because like you, at least in the moment you were self-aware about it. I'm assuming like you knew when you were there. Yeah. Because like we were just talking about, like there's so many people where they're like, never again. And now in hindsight, with all the experience that I have, I can be like, listen, man, I hope you're right, but experience has taught me you're going to be wrong. You're going to be wrong in a big, bad way.
Dude, it's something like I think 3% of people at most go to rehab and stay sober.
Yeah,
like
it's an absurdly small number, but it's also a small number because of what exactly you're talking about.
Yeah, dude.
When people go there because their parents want them to, or their girlfriend wants them to, or their kids want them to, then they have no intention to stay sober in the first place.
Yeah,
so that skews the numbers. There's I get into this not in a bad way, but I have this discussion with people all the time about like why the numbers are so fucked, because people treat it like exactly like you're talking about, like it's a vacation spot. And it's like, now I get frustrated with it because I'm like, no, I literally was dying.
Yeah, dude.
And now, and then
that's how things are now.
Yeah, and you show up somewhere and people are like, yeah, I just wanted a little break. And it's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
like,
dude,
a little break. Like,
yeah,
I wish I could have had a little break.
Well, now I get why
I'd be married with kids right now if I had a little break.
Dude, like, I get why people didn't like me there. Like, older people.
Oh, yeah.
All the kids, I hit it off. There weren't so many kids. It was mostly older people. And I would always see them hating on us.
Yeah.
And now I get it.
Yeah.
But, the rehab was one thing. It taught me a lot. It was great. But once I got into the halfway house.
Is this still in South Florida?
Yeah. This is like, I graduate from rehab. I get scholarshiped. My cousin Bert has been down there forever, sober for 12 years or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really part of the community. Helped me get into a halfway house.
Okay.
Because my parents have money, but they were not going to pay for me to be in a halfway house.
Yeah, they're not going to dish
out. I had to get a job. I've never been handed money.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, and that's another thing, too, is that with the insurance racket, the way it is, these halfway house, because you said scholarship, and just for anybody listening who's unaware of how the system works, from my experience and from your experience, it's if you have health insurance, you're welcome with open arms. If you do not have health insurance, then it's a whole other process.
It's $175 a week. I got 1 week free. And I did not have a job.
Yeah.
So in this week, I had to find a job, and then So once I had the job, obviously that next week I'm not going to get paid. So I owed
2 weeks.
Yeah,
3
2
weeks.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. It starts to add up.
Yeah. So it was $350. So I move in there. I'm doing great in there, dude. Like I was working the program. I was always going to smoke weed. I was still smoking spice, but like real drugs was not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't done them yet. Molly's one thing. I never did acid to this day. Like I never touched pills at that point.
And it's interesting that you say real drugs because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right, but people don't.
Yeah, people listening. Real drugs are the things that like we've buried friends over. When we say real drugs, we mean, heroin, fentanyl, morphine.
Not a fun time.
Yeah. Not awesome.
Yeah, not something you're doing
even
once
coke,
every 6 months.
I would classify because that can get real spicy.
Coke can get you,
quick.
dude.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you throw crack into it.
Yeah,
That's,
especially if you throw crack.
You throw
into
crack
it.
in there, and then it's
The
just
one time I did that, man. Whoo!
so fun.
It's so fun. But
so fun, dude.
It's so bad.
But
it's
I ended up. So I got kicked out of my halfway house, and it was bullshit. But
what? Okay, so it's just
honestly, like kids got high in there,
yeah.
right? I ended up getting a job. I was doing great. Kids get high in there. They can stay. You're not allowed to have a girl in there. It's an all-male halfway house. I just moved. There's 3 rooms. One's for your first 30 days. You're with 3 people in one room. 2 people in one room, 30 to 60 days. Once you get from 60 to 90 or whatever the next thing, you get your own room. I'm in second room now.
Okay.
I have a new house leader. I have this girl whose dad owned Palm Partners. The day I graduated, she hands me her number. She's hot, right?
Yeah.
She's hot. So I'm like, hey, let's hang out.
What's up?
So she's like, I'm at a concert. I'll come over after. I tell my house leader, to be a good dude, hey, I want to know if you're cool with this, because if you're not, I won't do it. But I'm talking to this girl. She wants to come over. I want to fuck her. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
He says, yeah.
I see where this is going.
Girl comes in. She's literally on top of me. We're just making out. She's been there 3 minutes. Knock on my door. It's the dude who owns the halfway house, who I've built a relationship with. He's friends with my cousin. We're close,
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you doing, dude? And I was like, are you serious?
Did you rat out the house leader? Or were you like
The house leader ratted me out.
No, but I'm saying, when the owner knocked on the door, did you say, "Hey, I ran it by so and so"? They said
I
it was
ended
cool?
up telling him.
Okay.
Like when we had our
yeah, of course. You're gonna throw me under the bus. Fuck you.
It was legitimately 3 a.m. So he tells the girl, hey, sweetie, like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then he goes, dude, it's 3 a.m. You're going to have to leave in the morning, but like, go to sleep. I'll see you in the morning and we'll pack up all your stuff and we'll figure it out. But I do want to talk to you in the morning.
Okay.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're seriously going to kick me out. I don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, because you're in South Florida. Your whole family, whole family's in Jacksonville.
I have family down there, but now I just got kicked out of my halfway house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I could have taken a drug test and I would have passed, so I probably should have done it. But whatever. She lets me move in.
That's that girl.
Yeah.
The owner of the. Oh my god.
Yeah. So she lets me move
the
in.
fucking shit we can get ourselves into.
It gets a million times. So I'm living with her. Dude, it gets so much gnarlier. Like, so you make friends in rehab.
It gets so much worse.
Way worse. This is like the best.
That's the
This
clip.
is as-
What time is it?
This is as good as it gets. So like,
she's got her own place, obviously.
own
Her
place.
dad
It's
owns
great.
a
She's
rehab.
rich.
Yeah.
She's older than me. She was like 20. I was 19.
Yeah.
She was probably, I don't know, 28 or
Oh
something.
wow, so
yeah.
way older. Yeah.
Yeah. She's hot, dude. Like, it was weird that it happened.
Something's happening with your watch.
Oh, it's fucking Siri recording.
Oh, okay.
Creepy. So, anyways.
So move in with her. She's like, yeah, absolutely. Come stay with me at my house.
But she's also like, she worked at a rehab. So she's thinking like, I can't have beer in my fridge and freaking out and all this stuff. Like trying to, like, I never had a problem drinking. She's like, I need to take all the alcohol out of my house and being really weird, treating me like a little kid.
Oh, so she said you can move in, but then she puts it on like total lockdown.
Craziness, dude.
Which is weird because in the book it even talks about, and by the book I'm referencing the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, but in the book it even references when you try to, I think it's page 101, if you try to shield yourself from everything,
you can't put a stigma on it like that.
it's just going to make it like you're not actually recovering. You're not actually in recovery. You're just hiding it all from yourself.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so it's
you're
not
going to get exposed.
Yeah, and it's not going to do anything. Like I can be around booze all day long. Like
and you're going to have to be doing what we do.
Yeah, and it doesn't bother me at all because I'm in fit spiritual condition most days.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that because she works at a rehab and her dad owns the facility, that as soon as you're like, she's like, yeah, move in. She's like treating it like it's a facility. Like,
it was like I was a baby and tried to baby-proof the house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
But like drug addict-proof the house, alcoholic-proof the house. So I hated it, and I'd made friends.
How long were you there? I'm so interested in this. How long?
In Delray?
No. How long?
At her house.
You get kicked out. You move in with her the next day, I'm assuming.
That morning, yeah.
Okay,
She
and
comes
how
gets
long are
me.
you there?
I'm there for 6 days.
Okay, not even a week.
Not even probably. I don't think it was a full week. Maybe 5.
Okay.
And I'm working, though. I have a job.
Yeah.
You know?
What is your job?
I'm working at the Seagate Hotel on Atlantic Avenue.
Okay.
It's that big white
Yeah,
one.
I
It's
know which
beautiful.
one it is, yeah.
I was working in their cafe area. It's like a barista, basically.
Okay.
It's cool.
So you have a job.
Yeah.
So you're living with her for 5 days, and you're just like, "Fuck this noise, I'm out."
I have friends.
Yeah, you
you
made
know?
friends between
So there's these group of kids.
you guys. You're smoking spice with at the halfway house.
Exactly. And other people I'd went to Palm Partners with
Yeah.
that I was smoking spice with as well. And there's these
Douches.
these 2 dudes who are masterminds, dude. They create a fake halfway house where
Now I don't want you to get anybody in trouble. You're
no,
all right?
I'm not gonna say any names.
Okay.
I
Is
do
this-
remember their names, but I'm not going to say them.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I was like, "That sounds like something that a lot of people went to jail with for up here."
Yeah, I'm sure. So these 2 dudes were at a motel off Hypoluxo in a really bad area.
Yeah, I know how to
Really bad. So really scary. So they're like, I'm going and hanging out with them and stuff.
Yeah.
So I go to the motel. It's in one bedroom. It's them 2, and then probably 6 people who are drug addicts who are sober to their parents who live in Atlanta, Philadelphia, Jersey, all over the
Wow.
place. Sending these 2 dudes money per week as if it's a halfway house.
Yeah.
So they're making $175 a week times 6,
Times. Yeah.
right? And they're paying $80.
So are you
For the
living?
motel.
Are you living?
I
where-
eventually move in.
Okay, so
for free.
Okay, so you're staying with the girl. You have these 2 buddies. After 5 days, you're like, "Fuck this, I'm
I
out."
hate this, yeah.
You go to live with them.
Right. So
Okay,
she
okay.
drives me to a motel and she's like, "Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
This is what you want."
And her fucking S-Class Mercedes. You're like,
It
"No,
wasn't.
I'd rather,
She had it like a brand new Ford Escape. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of those.
Like, I'd rather stay at this motel with 8 other people."
Yeah, and no car and nothing and farther from work in the
Hell
hood.
yeah, man. I know how our brains work.
And I had no experience with real drugs
Yeah.
ever. So, you know, like Sperry the Topsiders, how they've got like the weird laces.
Yeah.
This is legitimately the first thing that happens to me. I walk in, and this really attractive girl, Melissa, who me and her end up like talking, she goes, "Hey, do you have like a string or anything do you have something to tie off with?" Because she's just assuming that I'm a drug addict as well.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is at the motel?
Yes.
Okay.
I just walked in I'm moving in. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, Melissa.
I'm CJ.
Yeah.
Melissa, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Hey, CJ.
Do you have anything to tie off with?
Nice to meet you. Do you have anything to tie off with?
And I say no. And she's like, "Well, can I use your shoelace?" And I'm like, "No." You know?
What a dick.
I mean, come on. You know?
What an
I'm so
inconsiderate
scared.
asshole.
I'm so scared. You know, I've never seen anyone shoot up. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And she gets her hot girl thing on. She's like, "Come on, please." I'm like, "All right, whatever, bitch." So I take my shoelace off, and she does it. And that was my first time seeing someone shoot up. It would not be my last. And
So this is at the fake halfway house motel.
yeah, it's in a motel.
God,
So there's a
that's-
great payoff, and since you live there, you're gonna love this and appreciate it so much. Thank God. Okay, so we're staying there. They're renting cars, and they have a Hyundai Elantra that's old
Yeah.
that I'm allowed to use. They they knew me. Like I did group with these people. They know me.
So real quick, I know you I'm gonna let you make this point, but I just want to understand this because I think I totally get it. But just so the listeners
Yeah.
understand, these are kids who went to a rehab.
We're all in rehab together.
But do not want to be sober. They don't want to be sober so much that they lied to their parents that they're staying in a halfway house when really they're just staying in this motel and to basically do drugs and do whatever they want.
They went and did walkthroughs on open houses and took pictures as if it was the house.
Okay, but I want the audience to understand
Yeah,
that
yeah.
when we talk about addiction and alcoholism and drug addiction and stuff, like this isn't like we're not like we joke about it because that's our coping mechanism is to joke
But
and
it's
to
as
laugh.
real as it gets.
But it's just like these kids are lying to their parents across the country.
Their parents are spending so much money.
And those parents are shelling out money, and I'm going to venture to say that more than 1 or 2 of these kids have died.
All of them.
Yeah,
Like, one of the kids that was running it is dead. The other one's still alive. Like, I know that.
yeah.
If I had 15 close friends when I was in rehab. There are 3 that I know for sure
that
are
dead.
alive.
Oh, that are alive.
I know they're all dead.
Yeah.
Like I've
and that's I just want to kind of relay that,
4. There's 4 alive out of those
Yeah.
15. No bullshit.
God, that's insane. So you go in there, and it's you walk in. The Melissa thing happens, and then
And now I get into the flow of things. Not only are these parents
literally the flow of things.
Yeah, dude.
Hey-o.
Like this girl has a seizure. It's a bunch of crazy things happen.
Yeah.
Not the first night. I'm here for 2 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're living in this motel for 2 months with a 15-year-old kid who sells weed next door and a prostitute mom.
Okay.
I mean, everything was as Hollywood for people who haven't lived this.
Yeah.
The idea of what you think from Basketball Diaries or something like.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. Like the girls in there, I am driving them to go to Western Union to get the money that their parents have sent so they can go and not only pay this dude, but they're also going to fuck him so they can get even more.
Yeah.
And we're doing this every day. And I get to keep the car because I'm not doing any of this.
Yeah, you're still not doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it scares the shit out of me. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm working. I start rolling again off ecstasy because that 15-year-old kid could get the pills.
Yeah.
And no bullshit. They kept telling me, we're going to get a better place. We're going to get a better place. And I'm like, look, I don't even give a fuck. I've never been somebody who cares about shit. Like, as long as I can sleep somewhere.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm saving so much money.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
And
paying nothing.
I say this all the time. Like we've slept on couches, floors,
Cars.
chairs.
I've slept on the
cars.
ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like outside.
Jail cells. Yeah. Like it's not.
I've slept on a hot tub.
Yeah.
Like on the top thing. For like that was like my bed for
Yeah.
like a while.
So
yeah.
it's
Me and
not
Daisy.
Well, it's always funny when people are always like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I don't have." It's like, dude, you
You're
have a
good.
bed.
Yeah.
Like
the
the old-
AC's on?
Yeah, like the
This
old
is
Matt
great.
Fulcheron joke, man. If I get into a bed with blankets, I'm sleeping, man. I just can't help it.
It's happening.
Yeah. So
Full charge is great.
Yeah.
But to cap this thing off, they keep saying, we're gonna get a better place, blah blah blah. They are saving this money. They're spending it, but it's so much that you can't help but save some.
Yeah, dude.
And those 2 are remaining sober.
Oh, they are.
They will drink, but they're not doing like drugs.
Yeah.
So, Meisner Park, those apartments.
Oh, I know Meisner Park.
I lived on the
apartments.
10th floor in those apartments
Did you really?
with 8 people, 4 bedroom,
Damn.
sick.
4-bedroom, 8
So
people.
for people who
That's
don't
not
know,
even that bad. That's only like 2 people per room.
It was
I've lived in
perfect.
halfway houses that had like 6 people per room.
we were like balling at this point. Like,
Yeah.
they'd kick people that were like real issues from the motel who were like overdosing constantly.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're not coming.
Yeah.
So we moved in.
Narcan can get expensive.
Yeah, not everybody can come. You
Yeah.
know. So Meisner Park.
This is exclusive.
Yeah, not everybody gonna make the bandwagon. You know what I'm saying? So we go to Meisner Park. We're literally living like there's like that club and that really nice steakhouse where there's
Yeah.
like Lamborghinis and shit.
For those of you who don't know, Meisner Park is a very nice, like outdoor mall, essentially.
It's
in Boca
it's-
Raton.
Yeah, it's like living in a high rise, not a high rise, but a 15-story building in the middle of the town center or
Yeah,
something.
it's
It's sick.
super nice.
It was the nicest place I could easily ever live. And one of the kids moved in. He was just being overly aggressive, and he was like a closeted gay dude, and he was like just being overly aggressive, and it was getting weird. And me and Melissa were talking, and he was like,
Melissa's still alive. Glad to hear it at this point.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Oh, right now she is?
She's doing so good. Like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
She's doing so good. She is beautiful. She's married.
Shouts out Melissa.
She's doing great. She's totally turning around. She's one of the 4. So, it got to the point where this dude, it was real.
I know it's not funny, but I can't help but laugh.
You know, I mean,
And for anybody who thinks I'm being like cold, like fuck you, it's not that. It's
Dude,
just
it
that's
was
my
terrible.
reaction.
like this was super eerie. The last kid to die, like of my close friends, me and him were like legit best friends. Like one of the closest people I've ever been with. Like I love
Yeah.
him so much. It sucks he's gone so bad. And I'm driving through Delray. I had so many of my best moments with this kid ever. And I got him into my halfway house, and then I got kicked out, but he got to stay. Like
Yeah.
I loved him so much, dude. And we were driving through. I'm not with him. This is a couple years ago. I'm going to the Keys for my ex's brother to get engaged, and it's this big secret. It's just me and him and his sister and his soon-to-be fiance. And we're driving through Delray, and I pull up Facebook, and I see rest in peace, Nick.
Oh,
As
shit.
I'm like going over Linton.
Yeah.
Like it was like so crazy, dude. And that was the last one that passed away from like that group of kids. Hopefully no one else does, because
Yeah.
everyone seems to be like doing good. Like if anything, it's gonna be me. But like everyone's been
it's
doing.
totally gonna be you.
Yeah, like if it's any like Melissa seems to be doing great. Drew has like a kid and everything. Like it seems to be doing good. And everybody could be.
You're on
faking.
your own.
I'm out here, dude.
Yeah, you're just out here.
I'm out here.
At least we'll have this recording.
Yeah, right. And
I'll play this.
Premonition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll play this at the memorial. I'll be like, you guys listen to this. Check this episode out of Brennan Tassif is your ex drinking buddy.
You know how it was one of the 4. It's now one of the 3.
But no, finish the story about what ended up happening with the. So you
like,
said
how
the
does
guys.
it all end?
Yeah, the guy's getting aggressive, starting to get weird.
Like we're all partying, you know. Like
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So one night, me and Melissa like want to be by ourselves, you know, and he won't stop. Like, and we finally get rid of him, like to the point where I drop them off on Atlantic Avenue, and then me and her go, and like we're gonna roll on the beach and do all that stuff, and come back, and I gotta pick them up now off Atlantic Avenue from one of these fucking million clubs.
Yeah.
And I pick him up, and he's like, we get back, he's like constantly trying to like, come on, let's just have a threesome. I'm like, dude, no.
Oh, okay.
And then like knocking on the door to come in. And then before I had to lock the door, coming in the room, like just opening it.
Yeah.
And like me and her, we're rolling, like we're not even doing anything.
Yeah.
Like we're literally just hanging out. Like
But he's
people think that when you roll together, it's just, oh, we're gonna fuck instantly. Like, no, you're not. You could easily not fuck. You could spend the whole night just talking.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what we were doing. And he became too much. One kid didn't steal my pillow, but like was using my pillow, and I found him like asleep, slobbering all over it. And it's like, that's my one motherfucking pillow, dude. And you're like, you're slobbering all over it.
Yeah, man.
It was just, and
shit
then,
gets tight in
and
those
I'm living
places,
with drug
man.
addicts. Like I'm driving people, like I'm putting my life in danger for these fucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I gonna get arrested?
Because you're still not doing heroin at this point.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only getting ecstasy every now and then, and I'm smoking weed.
Yeah.
And like, it's the weed. It's this 15-year-old kid. Like, I don't have to go anywhere. Once we move into Meisner, I got to drive to him. But like,
Yeah,
that's
still,
it.
it's not,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, that's it. I'm not going and sitting for 45 minutes while this heroin dealer's.
Well, and that's
on
what I was
his
going to say too. The
bullshit.
caliber of weapon between in my experience, between a weed dealer and someone dealing coke or heroin is apples to oranges.
It's night and day, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
you're-
it's like, hey, what's up, man? Here's a little bit, here's some weed and stuff. When it comes to harder drugs that I've done and I've bought and stuff, it can get real sketchy real quick. Like people with like
that's how you're gonna get arrested.
big guns,
Yeah.
big people, big suitcase. Like it gets
It's serious.
yeah,
stuff.
it's a serious business.
Yeah, and it's also seriously illegal.
Yeah, like yeah.
Like
Like,
you're not gonna get away.
When you see in the movies and they're like, I'll die before I go back, you're dealing with those kind of people in real life.
Yes, you're dealing with people like that will literally die, and also you're dealing with people who in no way give a fuck about going to jail.
Or
They will.
kill you.
Oh yeah,
Like
dude.
you're nobody.
That's nothing.
So what ends up happening with we keep getting sidetracked.
I just
What
call my
ends-
dad and I say, hey, I'm fucking out of here.
Oh really? That's
yeah.
it?
Said my time here is done. It's almost Christmas. I came.
Closing
Yeah,
time.
exactly. It was December.
One last call for
It was that, dude. I went for Thanksgiving. I had missed being home. My mom wasn't doing so good anymore.
Yeah.
So I just came back, you know? And
Okay, so you originally, when did you get to Delray? Like
2011.
no, but like when
August.
August of 2011.
And
so
I
you
leave
walked
December.
in. So August, September, October, November. So you're only there 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
Okay.
Wait, August, September, October, November,
And
December.
then
5 months.
5 months. Yeah. Okay, so
It
then
was like right before Christmas.
yeah, you
it's a good
dip
Christmas
out.
present.
You say, "Pops, things aren't working out for me here. I wish I could,
Can you come pick me up?
yeah, thinking I think
Yeah.
I might come home."
Yeah.
And he says, "Of course."
Fuck yeah.
You've
Yeah.
been in treatment. You're living in a halfway house. You're obviously, he thinks you're
doing great.
the picture of sterling sobriety.
And like in retrospect, compared to like how the next 8 years go, I'm doing pretty good.
yeah, you're doing
like,
fucking.
I'm doing great.
You're like B minus
Yeah.
level of
Yeah.
goodness.
Like in this exact moment, which is short lived, I'm doing better only because I'm so busy. If you look at it financially, it's shit like that.
yeah,
But like, I was doing good. Like I fell into drugs. Like we started doing coke, and it was like,
is this when you moved back to?
yeah. So I moved
okay.
back. My friend was selling coke, and we started hanging out with different people, you know.
Yeah,
And
coke
that-
crowd's a lot different than the weed crowd.
and the kid that was selling the coke his mom had a roommate who had Xanax, and she did not know the street value of Xanax, and neither did I. And she would offer me for like a full 2 milligram school bus like if I pulled her a hit from the gravity bong, she'd give me 5. If I
What?
I swear on my life. If I gave her like a gram of weed, she'd give me 20. I don't know though. Like I was just taking them.
Dude, I was gonna say that.
So I would take one and I would feel great. I knew nothing.
God, that's
And one
so
day,
much money.
this was the worst moment of my life, maybe, in terms of what the consequences ended up being. I go to this house. I've known this kid forever. He's like my older brother in this weird way, and he's looking for Xanax. I've got like at least 100 something in my car.
Jesus, yeah.
Like this has been going on just for months, just getting free ones, taking one every now and then.
Yeah.
And I see this back patio of people who are all dying to get Xanax. It was like 4 of them. And as soon as I say that, they're like, well, how many do you have? They bought all of them. He sold weed. He wasn't like rich, but
Yeah.
and they told me they bought all of them for 5. They told me like never sell these for less than $5 a pill. Like people will always pay.
Yeah.
So no matter how many you have. I sold all of them and I was like, holy shit.
I'm rich.
Right. I think I kept like 2 for myself.
Yeah.
Went back to Mandy, gave her some money, got a bunch, and then took them, started having fun. Then I started having fun on them.
Yeah.
Started going out, drinking, blacking out. And then we started doing more than she had. So we go to this other kid who had pain pills. So I would get like 4 10 milligram Loratabs and a couple Xanax bars. And I'd take that for a night. And I'd feel
Jesus Christ,
the best
man.
ever. And then one of these kids ends up, I think I'm getting a Roxy. He comes back with heroin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm not shooting up. He tells me that you can actually snort it.
Yes,
and I
you
was
can.
like, wow, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah.
You can actually smoke it. That's how I ended up. Like, whenever if I was going to relapse, I would smoke it.
Yeah.
You know, I've shot it, but.
Yeah, when I obviously with some of the injuries and stuff that I've had, I got hooked kind of bad on it was just pain pills and stuff, but I mean it's synthetic heroin. I mean
Yeah, dude.
it's the same thing.
It's that all
Literally,
killer, no
like-
killer thing.
Yeah, like once you break down the molecular
Yeah.
structure, it's
It
pretty
feels
much all
the
the same stuff.
Like
yeah.
you're feeling the same feeling.
But I was the same thing. I didn't know I was like, why would I snort it? And then people would explain to me like, well, if you take it orally, it has to go through your liver, and then you don't get the full effect. Like shooting, it's the best. But I was like,
Yeah, that's scary.
Let's pump the brakes. But then eventually things happen and it gets worse. But
once I started shooting up, I was like committed to dying.
yeah,
That was like,
I think that's actually it's a sad thing to say, but that's probably the best way to put it.
like when I relapsed though, I didn't want to die.
Yeah.
And I didn't shoot because I was like, this is so scary.
Well, and it's such a
It's also hard to do. It's not easy.
well, not only that, but it's just it's such a mind fuck, especially with the fentanyl now. Like I said, we talked about it in another episode. But with my buddy Tony, with what happened to him, it's like, dude, you've been shooting, like, it sounds weird and calculating to say, but it's like, you've been shooting heroin for a long time. Like, how did you, like, miscalculate it like this fucking bad?
It's
But like you said, with everything they're putting in it, like, it's one of those things where if you're going to go all the way down, like.
I've saved a lot of people's lives, right? And it's literally who you're getting it from. So, like, everybody says that you get it from the best and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But, like, at this one time, I really did find a guy who did have probably the best that you can find.
Yeah.
And everyone I was giving it to, because, like, you meet people, you hang out with girls and stuff. I've saved 3 girls' lives all off of his dope. All people thinking, oh, like, I would tell them, please don't. Like,
Yeah.
you don't understand. Like, you cannot do what you would normally do. And they still wouldn't do what they normally would do. And they still did it. Like, you don't want, like, it's this weird thing. Do you want to get super cut shit or do you want to get super good shit?
Yeah.
It all depends on how smart you are, which I think the reason I'm still here today is from that smoking it thing. Like, I've never in my life, when I used to shoot, which was very short-lived, I, like, shot for maybe, like, a month and a half, 2 months, and, like, went to detox. And that's now, like, I'm on this thing.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know.
Well, because when I first met you, I kind of want to bring it full circle. When I first met you at CBD, this was something that we obviously bonded over because you had put together a little bit of sobriety or, clean time. And I obviously had been sober for a few years, so we kind of bonded over this. And then I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but then
I relapsed.
Yeah, you vanished. You were like gone for a little while. And it was something that I know a lot of times on the show we'll have like dumb stories or fun stories and stuff. And I enjoy having episodes like this as well, because it's not like talking about some of the experiences it's not always fun. Like I understand we both do comedy, but most people who get into comedy don't do it because they're on like a winning hot streak. Normally you're broken in some form or
it's
fashion.
A weird thing to want that.
Yeah.
To want to be up there, and that's like where you're at your favorite. Like that's my best place in life is when I'm on stage.
Yeah, me too.
It's like a weird thing to think about mentally. Like the type of person that's what they strive for is to be on stage.
Yeah, and I my whole goal, like we talked about earlier, is to have these horrific things that have happened and make you laugh about it.
Yeah.
Because then what it really shows people is that if you can sit here and we can talk about the fact that only 4 people are left out of the 15 you knew when you first went to rehab, and things like that. But we can talk about that openly. And to us, we automatically, our go-to knee-jerk reaction is to try and find the humor in that. Then people can realize, like, hey, man, being a little short on rent this month isn't as bad as burying 11 people in the course of 5 years.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
And that's what I hope to bring either with this podcast and with my stand-up is that, you know, whatever you're going through, like, I feel you, and it's going to be okay. Like, we'll get through it. We're going to die trying.
It, like, makes it okay for us in a way, like, to flush something out. Excuse me. To flush something out like that, like, okay, I'm going to say this dark thing that happened to me, and I think it's funny. It makes me feel better to think of it this way.
Yeah.
And then when you get the laughs from it and it does pay off,
dude, it's
like
best.
Validating that it is okay to feel that way about it.
Yeah.
Like there's some things that I think about and I'm like, wow, am I a fucked up person for feeling that way about it? Like, am I a fucked up person for feeling like, wow, like the statute of limitations on my dad thing? Like that was a true feeling. Like now things are great. Because of me not leaving him, though. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I understand.
We could easily not talk, and he'd be cool with that. Like, it's me doing it. Yeah. And he's great, and if he was listening to this, which maybe, probably not, if he was listening to it, he would completely disagree. But I just, there's so many things that he said along the lines of, like, I do not ever want you to be in my life again. And unless I made the effort and came back, I would not be in his life.
Yeah.
So, like, with that comes wanting this person not to be in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
for sure.
when that's the relationship you have with your dad, you don't want them to be in your life and you fucking hate them in moments. And that was bred out of that.
Yeah.
So when I go up on stage, now I don't feel that way at all. I love my dad so much. I work with him. I play golf with him. I love him. Like he's my best friend. But when I was feeling that way about him and I tell these jokes now, it makes me realize, oh, it's okay that I did feel that way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's exactly the point. Like there are things I talk about. You know, I have the whole bit about it's weird because I have the bit about Jordan who died from a heroin overdose.
Right. That's such a good joke, dude.
You know the joke. And sometimes, a lot of times people laugh at it because it is dark and twisted, but at the same time, there's people who pull back.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely understand why they would. But what I try to convey to people is like this happened. Like there's no, like by me not saying it doesn't make it not so. Like,
yeah.
It happened. In my brain, the way my brain works, I found this something amusing about the fact, the way things played out chronologically, the way they did. I found that to be funny and ironic.
And also not like that we're trying to change the world and be these revolutionary thinkers that bring attention to all these different things.
Yeah, like it's all been said before.
You're bringing attention to the fact that there is an opioid epidemic going on, and she died.
Yeah,
because of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she's a heroin addict. It's so funny. It's this did happen.
That's exactly. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's not, oh my God, it's so funny that she's dead. It's, oh my God, can you believe the timing of when she died?
It's terrible, but
it's also kind of hilarious.
It's a way of bringing light to it without being so fucking boring and presenting it as this
TED Talk.
this public service announcement. Dude.
Yeah, and when people get mad at me, I go, listen, there's nobody else in the world that is still talking. I mean, I shouldn't say in the world. She has a family, but there's like,
right.
but I'm still like, I still bring her up. Like, she will live. The ancient Greeks believed you are immortal if people remembered you.
That is so dark.
Immortality comes from being remembered. So technically, she's gonna live forever as long as I keep telling this joke.
Dude, if it wasn't for you, she'd just be some.
She'd be a distant memory.
Yeah, she'd be nothing. At least now she's a punchline.
But I have to edit all this out. God damn it.
Yeah, they're not gonna like that. But hey, I mean, I think I'd keep it.
No, I don't edit anything. The only thing I edit is when I retell stories I've told a million times.
Yeah, and even then, I feel you. Me and Josh used to talk about that all the time. When me and Josh would do a podcast together, he'd always be like, hey, we've talked about that or whatever. And like, I get it. But I'm going to talk about it different. Two, someone else who's listening.
Yeah, well, and my biggest thing too is that like I have different guests on every week.
It's cool though that you're not stopping it. You go back and edit it.
Yeah.
To in the moment stop conversation is the dumbest thing to do if you're hosting a podcast.
No, so
let it happen, edit it later.
Yeah, what I'll do is like I'll have people on, and sometimes they'll, because some people I have on, we're not friends. Like they just I want them on the podcast, so I ask them to, like, I know who they are, or they ask to be on the podcast or whatever. But they'll say something, and I'm like, holy shit, that's just like this. And I will tell the story because it's a great way to relate to the guest.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the listeners, they're probably like, dude, Brennan, we've heard this fucking story 19 fucking times.
I agree with you.
So then what I'll do is I use it as a mechanism to relate to the guests so they can feel more comfortable. And so they understand, like, hey, we're talking about the same thing here.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'll go back through and I'll edit it out so the listeners don't have to hear it again.
Literally, the point of podcasting is do whatever the fuck you think.
Yeah.
And I never did that just because Joe Rogan's got the biggest podcast in the world. He talks about so much of the same shit over and over.
Yeah.
You hear him say literally the exact same things. Does it bother me? Yes. I don't really listen to him as much as I used to, but I remember when I was listening to him all the time, I would just hear him talking about it and be like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just keep listening. It never stopped me from listening.
Yeah.
That's not to say it doesn't stop people, though. People are
No, that's true. Okay,
very particular.
There are so many podcasts out there that people could just be like, nope, didn't like that episode. I'll never listen to it again.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're
dude.
like, oh, I guess we just lost that person.
over.
But I do appreciate you coming on and being so candid. Do you want to, we're coming up to that time, do you want to get into
Whatever you want.
the X thing, or do you want to save that for next time?
I mean, I don't care. We can save it for next time.
Okay.
Keep them guessing.
Keep them guessing. Got it. Well, because I just have a feeling that'll
It
be
could easily be so long, yeah.
Yeah, especially with my history.
That's
of
what
my
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk about it, because you're the only person that, like, when you do that martyr thing, like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Me personally, I love that joke so fucking much, dude.
It's one of my best jokes. I love that joke.
I feel you, dude. Like, that when the first time I heard you say that, I fucking died. And it was this weird thing where I looked, there's these weird moments where, you have like inner dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
I told myself, I was like, Jesus Christ, it's like that's like exactly how I feel.
Yeah,
like, that was
see,
brilliant.
boom. So
Yeah,
it works.
you nailed it. Yeah,
nailed it. But
Great
then
ending.
when I do that bit in a room full of well-adjusted normal people, they're always like, "Get this guy off stage. This is terrible."
Not the audience. Fuck you.
Yeah, don't need everybody, baby.
Yeah.
Shouts out Kyle Kinane.
Thank
Anyway,
you, dude. Thank you.
of course, plug everything one more time.
Instagram.
Let them know where they can find you.
It is at CJ Couch Talk. C is in Christ, J is in Jesus, C is in Christ, O is in Ostrich, U is in Uranium, C is in Christ, H is in Horses, T is in Tantalizing, A is in Ass, L is in Labia, K is in Kaboom. It's so fucking easy. It's CJ Couch Talk. You can follow me there. The podcast is
I have a
coming
feeling
back.
you've done that before.
I used to do it on every episode all the time.
Really?
Yeah, it's a couchy thing. Thank you so much, Brendan. I love you. You're
I
great.
love you too, buddy. Subscribe, rate, and review to the podcast, please. I actually have some merch coming up. Finally bought some merch, so that'll be on the website. BrennanTComedy.com is where you can find all the upcoming dates. Follow me on all social media at BrennanTComedy. You can always check me out here or check out my other podcast where me and the very talented Joe Dorville talk sports. That's called Cheers from the Press Box. Thank you again, everyone, so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.